Hello and welcome to KORERO, a platform for big conversation where we discuss issues that borders on Nigerian politics and other pressing national issues. My name is Godwin Sunday. Today we'll be discussing about the issue that borders on INEC and registration of even political parties. But then we'll be focusing the conversation largely on the legal position of identifying with political parties by the agency that is saddled with that responsibility of regulating political updates in the country. But we'll take a short break right now. We'll return. We'll dive into the conversation. Please stay with us. And you welcome back. Well, before we begin and dive into the conversation, let's even begin by giving you a background understanding to what is to be discussed. Well, the recognition of candidates on the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC portal is a critical aspect of Nigerians' electoral process. It serves as the official confirmation that a political party has been successfully nominated and have successfully nominated a candidate in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Electoral Act. Now, the Electoral Act and also INEC guidelines are provided for these candidates to be recognized and uploaded on this portal. Now, it is important to note that uploading a candidate's information does not automatically guarantee eligibility. Recognition of candidates on the INEC portal is an administrative and legal process designed to ensure that only duly nominated candidates participate in elections. Political parties must strictly comply with constitutional provisions, the Electoral Act, and INEC guidelines to avoid disqualifications or disputes. Ultimately, proper recognition strengthens the credibility, transparency, and integrity of Nigerians' electoral process. So tonight we'll look into these issues and what it entails, even as we begin to prepare for the 2027 elections. Now, there are a lot of issues that are begging for answers. The first issue that is begging for answer is, if INEC fail to recognize all of this process when it has to do with uploading, due to the fact of irregularities, what is the provision of the law and what does the law stipulate? Well, joining me to discuss all of this and also help us make sense in a legal perspective is Barrister Salifu Ogbeche, who is a legal practitioner and who will be helping us put all of this issue in a perspective. Please stay with us as the conversation begins immediately after this break. You're welcome back. Well, joining me tonight to discuss on this issue on even recognizing candidates on the INEC portal is Barrister Salifu Oguche, and he'll be helping us put this issue in perspective. But first, Barrister, it's a delight to have you join me on KORERO. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. G. It's always my pleasure.
Well, Barrister, there are a lot of issues that are begging for answer. First is, a lot of political parties right now are even going to court in order to get clarity to the position of INEC when it has to do with even uploading of their names on the portal. Help us even understand the position of INEC in this matter. If INEC decides to deregister or to not to upload, or the political party decide not to upload a candidate on the portal, and meanwhile the primaries recognize this candidate, does this leave a lacuna in our even political space? Help us even understand the process, if it can be rectified by the court.
I think recognition of candidates or nomination of candidates, to put things in proper perspective, is purely the duty and responsibility of a political party. one of the cardinal responsibilities of political parties globally is the nomination, presentation of candidates for an election. So conducting primaries, nominating candidates, and presenting the candidates before the umpire is basically the duty of political party. But the twist here, it's like we have all witnessed in recent times. We have issues, legal issues, as to who is the right, who constitutes the right leadership of a political party. So sometimes you find the INEC itself battling with the question of which faction of a particular political party to receive nominations from. And that is what I've given birth to this issue of recognition of candidates.
A lot of issues have even evolved. It has become like a normal trajectory in Nigerian body politics, where politicians tend to argue that they won in the primaries, but then they were not recognized by the institution that is saddled with the responsibility of even uploading their details. What is the position of the law in this regards?
Legally speaking, there are plethorias of authorities that says that both the courts and INEC should not meddle in internal affairs.
This is a recent development.
Of political
this is a recent
parties.
development, and the law cannot be retrospective.
I am coming to the issue at cross.
All right, please go ahead.
Now the issue is this. Like I have said earlier, nomination of political party, conduct of primaries are basically responsibilities of political parties. Under our electoral jurisprudence, all that a political party or INEC is to give it notice of the fact that we will be conducting primaries on so dates. And when such notice is given, INEC comes under a duty to send an observer to the venue of the primary. But that does not take the place of the fact that ultimately it is the candidate that a political party nominates and presents to INEC as duly returned as the candidate of the party that will be recognized and uploaded on INEC platform. In fact, under this present regime, what the INEC has done is to give you a password on INEC portal. It gives political party passwords on INEC portal for them to upload their candidates themselves. So it is not INEC's duty, it is not INEC's fault to recognize or to upload the names of candidates. It is political party that nominates and uploads.
When you talk about political parties, let's take an example and take even the conversation to the ADC as it stands right now.
Very well.
That when the Gombe Bala is having a faction, and also David Mark is also saying its faction is superior to Gombe. Yes. Right now, looking at that conversation right now, what does the law say, and how do we even begin to speak to this issue in order to create a balance and not even confuse INEC?
If you remember where I started this conversation from, I said the recent development has actually created so much problem for INEC, because in a sane climate, a political party should have a non-established leadership with which the umpire body, in this case INEC, can easily relate with. But that is not the situation today. The political class, like I have always emphasized on this platform, has consistently conducted themselves in such a manner that they have invited chaos into our electoral and political system. And that has given birth to these unfortunate situations where you have 2-3 factions claiming leadership of some political parties. And that puts INEC in a very bad situation, because INEC is now put in a situation as to choose which of these factions to relate with. And that is the problem.
Well, just yesterday, The Gombe faction of the ADC gave INEC 7 days ultimatum.
The nephew guy is
The
Gombe,
nephew
right?
Bala Gombe.
Very
I like calling him the Gombe.
I know him as nephew.
Okay, so let's go with the, since you know him as, let's go with the Gombe nephew Bala.
Very well. Very well.
He has given INEC and also David Mark 7 days ultimatum to apologize to the party and stop using, and giving Atiku also 7 days ultimatum to stop using its logo and the whole ADC mantra in order to run for its political ambition, and also apologize to the public. INEC have also received, I believe, I've received this notice. Looking at the Nigerian political space, what does this even say to us as a people? Are we ready for 2027 elections as it stands right now?
The question of readiness does not, for me, arise at this point, because conducting the 2027 election is a constitutional and statutory issue.
So when you know that the likes of Labour Party,
so whatever happens,
Labour Party still have a case in court. The Ifagbemi
all
faction,
the parties are, except even
the
if
Ifagbemi faction is still in court.
All the parties are having leadership in court.
PDP is still having a leadership tussle.
NDC
is right now in court.
Yeah, very well.
And we have all of this issue. What does this say about the 2027 elections? Should they be postponed by the legal fragments?
I do not subscribe to the view that the 2027 election should be postponed. If you postpone the 2027 election, that will lead to a constitutional logjam. And we don't want to subscribe to such an unfortunate situation. The truth of the matter is this: the electoral body, INEC in this case, and the Nigerian judiciary have what it takes to rise to this occasion, speak law and order into the system, and bring this chaos and drift to a halt. They can do that by taking a decisive decision with regards to all these leadership squabbles, all these nomination squabbles, and put things in proper perspective so that our democracy can be sustained. There is no point debating whether it is necessary or reasonable for us to postpone the election. It shouldn't be on the table. We will go into the election. Every institution should be held accountable and should be called to conduct themselves responsibly so as to preserve this democracy that was earned on the sweat and blood of some heroic Nigerians. Well,
Barrister, there are a lot of questions that I've been begging for answer. One of those questions is the fact that it has become like a norm for political parties from 1999 till date to have all of this rancor, internal rancor within the political space. Then, to complicate the matter, we're seeing the judiciary play a very interesting role. Most people in Nigeria will say right now that the judiciary is furthermore complicating the matter when it has to do with political parties, judiciary, and INEC. 3 parties involved in the matter. But help us understand, when there is a conflict, even in a political party, what should be the position of the law and also the judiciary in order to address this concern, especially within the political fragments of Nigeria, using NDC, ADC, and PDP right now as a central focus, point of contact for our conversation?
You know, I have always said something on this your platform, that the desperation of the Nigerian political class is to an indescribable extent, and that is what has brought us to this unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves. Now, placing the blame at the decks of INEC and the judiciary is misplaced. because most of these crises are in the first place incubated by the political elites. They insist on having their ways and set the machinery in place for the destruction of the system once their wishes are not kowtowed to. Now, the INEC itself, though can be faulted on some grounds, but is responding to the pressure from the political class. Same thing to the judiciary. The political class insists often on having their ways. And when such become untenable, they put pressure on every system, both the INEC and the judiciary. And unfortunately, we have a judiciary, as difficult as it is for me to call a spade as a lawyer, but I dare to say that we have a judiciary that has fallen short of the values that we knew the judiciary to have upheld even under the military regime, as was witnessed under President or General Ibrahim Babangida and Abacha, when the judiciary had the courage to even declare the federal government illegal and an usurpation of the right of the Nigerian people. But we have the judiciary now doing the biddings of the political class. But I know too well that it's as a result of indescribable pressure being mounted on them. So we should place the blame where it comes from. And for me, it is the political class.
So you're saying in essence right now that the judiciary and the political class are largely the reason why we're experiencing a lot of political instability and even pushing INEC to the position where it is right now.
But Mr. Godwin, you are a Nigerian.
Being challenged and even taking responsibility for identifying certain political parties and all of this. Judiciary should be largely blamed. Is that what you're saying?
But Mr. Godwin, you are a Nigerian.
Yeah, of course I'm a Nigerian.
You've been here in the Federal Capital Territory where you practice journalism. You know of all of the judgments, cases, counter cases, and all of that.
But I'm not a lawyer.
No, let me.
I'm not a lawyer.
That INEC has been bombarded. That INEC has been bombarded with.
Yeah.
Now, assuming that you are the INEC chairman, wouldn't you be confused? Wouldn't you be lost as to which judgment to comply with, which judgment not to comply with, which position to take in all of these melodramas? It is tiring. You are dealing with one issue today, you have one judgment to comply with, you are confronted with another judgment tomorrow, which sometimes contradicts the one that came the day before, and the cycle goes on and on and on and on and on. Have we as a people actually sat down and thought about the sanity of the political and electoral process? Have we talked about the sustainability of this democracy that some persons put their lives on the line to gain? I don't think the political class will be fair to Nigerians and the electoral system.
Well, a lot of debates have even sprung from all of this conversation. First of all, the debate is saying that we should start thinking about regionalism, because almost all political parties right now is tilting towards a regional fragment. Should it be the right step in the right direction right now?
Yeah, I think the unitary federal system that we run has largely failed us as a people. Because as a nation, if you look at Nigeria today, we have failed in all our efforts to evolve a nation out of the multiplicity of nations that were amalgamated together.
The APC will disagree with you in that regard.
You know, sharing resources puts some people together, and
so,
that makes
so
them,
let's,
and on that note, they begin to think that there is a nation.
Disagree with you, so let's put that in perspective.
I wish my other colleague, Igwe Mazi, that was here on the last, in our last outing, is here with me. He is a member of the APC. And I think every sane and reasonable Nigerian
But I'm not holding brief for the
will
APC.
agree
Just
with
just
me
trying to put the
that
issues in
this
records.
unitary federal system, I call it unitary because ordinarily on the surface we appear to be a federal system, but a federal system where the center controls basically all the pillars of government and powers is largely unitary. This system that concentrates power so much at the federal level hasn't served our peculiarity.
It's against the part 1 of the Nigerian Constitution, you're saying.
It has not served our peculiarity. I think that regionalism, as we had in the First Republic, would do us more good than what this present system has.
So, Barrister, you're saying at this point in time that Nigerians should go back to regionalism as against what we have right now.
But you look
26 years after, 25 years, I beg your pardon, after we returned to democracy. You say that it has not worked for Nigerians. Is that what you're saying?
But you be the judge here.
I'm not going to be the judge.
I've not attended
law school, so I've not been in law school. So let's be on the same page.
Have we felt so well?
I won't be the judge.
A federal system is one whereby the federating unit had some degree of autonomy in managing their affairs as well as their resources, and they surrender their external sovereignty to the federal government, who manages very cardinal issues such as the defense, currency, and perhaps foreign policy. And in that situation, all the federating units are at liberty to make policies and programs that suit their peculiarity for their own growth. But you have a system here whereby the federal government is largely in charge of all of those kind of policies. And unfortunately, when there is a disaster in Enugu, perhaps a gully erosion or an earthquake in Enugu as a result of their topography, you would have, in trying to respond to that emergencies, you would have to start attending to the same situation, even when the circumstances are not the same, in Yobe. That is why today, when President Olusegun Obasanjo, in his wisdom, came up with the Niger Delta Development Commission, the North, by some strange arrangement, insists, and today they have things like Northeast Development
the entire geopolitical zone have their commission right now.
Today you have the North Central Development Commission and all of that. This is not how a federal system is run. The United States of America, Canada, Australia, those are examples of federal nations. And these are nations that gives leverage to the states to manage their affairs so that my state, Kogi, can develop at our pace based on the resources at our disposal and our peculiarity. We wouldn't wait for the federal government to give us allocation based on certain primordial considerations as it gives to Zamfara. We wouldn't wait for ecological funds from the federal post and all of that. Well, and now we have made the central government, how do I used to call it in the political, a port that everybody is perpetually in struggle to control.
Barrister Salifu,
very well.
We've had quite a lot of guests on this show that have spoken about the fact that their political parties are trying to deprive them of even getting on the ballots. These issues are still in court. The recent uploading going on right now by political parties on their portal has also raised certain concerns about the position of political parties. Now, of course, you will recall that INEC recently just extended the date for its upload on its portal for majority of the political parties that are unable to meet its timeline. And looking at all of this issue, can we say that we are actually practicing democracy as it should be in the country?
I would personally, you ask for my personal view.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I will say what we have so far so good can be described as quasi-democracy.
Not quasi, but quasi.
Quasi.
No, because we need to put it in perspective. If it's the quasi or the quasi.
Quasi.
Okay, quasi.
Democracy.
That's great.
In the sense that what we have presently has some features of a democratic system. And you have some unfortunate elements or some unfortunate features that are anti-democratic. Why do I say that? Ordinarily, in a democratic setting, the conduct of primaries, the contests for nomination by political parties should be transparent, should be done in accordance to lay down rules and regulations. And once a particular candidate has been duly returned by the process as put in place by the political party, it should, as a matter of course, be returned, nominated, and his nomination accordingly forwarded to the Independent National Electoral Commission. But why I said quasi is that you have one unfortunate situation in Nigeria whereby no matter how popular a particular candidate may be, I can tell you for free that in the last party primaries, I know for sure that the senatorial candidate of the ruling party from my constituency waited to no avail for primary materials.
You mean not Chocho? Let's go by the name. You mean not Chocho? So that's in Kogi State. So since you've mentioned
waited
at the initial part of the conversation,
they waited.
Let's help you to even call the name of the candidate. So you're talking about Ochocho at this point.
Candidates waited for electoral materials, for primaries of their own party, and they never came. And before you could say Jack, the candidate was declared returned. They are still before their party's appeal panel, and that is why you are having problems with upload and nominations and all of that. You know, the issues are still ongoing. Are you not surprised that primaries that were conducted, was it in May? Up to today, so many constituencies have not returned.
So should we be talking about annulling these primaries at this point?
But the electoral process is time-bound. How do you annul the
So
primaries?
you being a barrister, there's no modalities to even approach the court
Mr. Godwin,
right now to talk about
it is not about the court.
So
I
what
have
is it
always
about?
emphasized here and elsewhere that the problem has always been the thinking, the orientation, and the manifest desperation of the political class.
So
who would want to win?
So the hand of the court is tied. The hand of judiciary.
Now look at it.
The hand of barristers.
For a process that is time-bound.
Okay. And the time-bound cannot be extended. Is that what you're saying by the law?
You know, under the Electoral Act, INEC and political parties have time frame and room.
It has not been tested. Let's put it in perspective.
You have not heard me.
Oh, please go ahead.
INEC and political parties have room and time frame for substitution of candidates. I think that has not been exhausted. So the upload and the nomination and all of that you are seeing, there is still time for substitution. I think after all the appeal panels and all the hula baloos and all of that have settled, ultimately, the political party will return their duly nominated candidates. And if they don't, even after the election, remember, pre-election matters and all of that, candidates who feel aggrieved will challenge the nomination of their opponents. And ultimately, we have you forgotten Amechi against Celestine Omehia? Amechi was duly nominated. Omehia was presented. Omehia ran the election. He was elected. What happened at the end of the day? The Supreme Court held that Amechi was a duly nominated candidate of the party. Who became the president at the end, the governor of Rivers State at the end of the day? It's Amechi. The process is not fundamentally different. It is all part of the larger electoral process. It will evolve.
But barrister, we have right now in ADC
Yes.
what seems like a lacuna we
Okay.
have right now in several political parties, what seems very interesting. But looking at all of these issues across the country, you understand, let's even, we'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll dive into more conversation. Please stay with us.